Hi, I'm Paul Jerica, Director of Programs with Illinois Humanities, and I'm here to talk to you about Crowd Out, our nomination for the Schwartz Prize. Crowd Out offered us a once-in-a-council lifetime to do a project that sought to kind of bring all of Chicago together. We were approached by an artist in Chicago by the name of Tim Monroe, who had this dream of producing the American premiere of David Lang's piece of experimental music called Crowd Out. And what makes Crowd Out experimental is that, one, it's written for a choir of 1,000 voices, both trained and untrained, and it's meant to be a site-specific work to kind of happen out in the world where people can just sort of encounter it. And when he approached us, the Humanities Council, our first question was, well, what's the humanities angle? This just seems like a kind of like artistic production. But what we realized is that there was a way to kind of work the humanities element into it, and it really provided a unique opportunity to try to create a choir of 1,000 voices that represented the city of Chicago as a whole. So Chicago has roughly 2.7 million people. It's divided into 50 different wards. And what we decided we were going to do is we were going to try to find a singing group of about 20 people or so to represent each of those wards. So basically, like, 20 people, 50 different choirs gets us to our 1,000. And so what we did is we decided to hold a kind of like open rehearsal in each of the wards, and we also identified a choir for each of those wards that could kind of lead the rehearsal. And that was a way of like both having people already there and part of the project, but also kind of inviting the community in. And after each of these community rehearsals, what we did is then we had a kind of dialogue about kind of what was happening in that community, and what did that community see as their kind of arts and cultural assets, what did they see as their kind of arts and cultural needs, and then where could Illinois Humanities and our future programs engage that community. On October 1st, 2017, we brought together these choirs from everywhere in the city, and they were made up of all sorts of different kinds of people. We had young people, we had old people, we had school bands, we had university bands, we had a punk rock band, we had a mariachi band, basically anybody that you could think of in the city of Chicago. And they came together in Millennium Park, around Cloudgate, also known as the Bean. And then people who just happened to be in the park could also kind of stumble upon the performance and actually walk through it. And in that brief moment, that single afternoon, folks from every corner of the city kind of shared a space and shared an experience. And simply through this kind of creative act, we were able to at least, however briefly, kind of bridge some of the distances that are a part of everyday life in Chicago. And then after it ended, what we've been able to do is then maintain relationships, both with the sites that hosted our kind of open rehearsals and community dialogues, and with some of the arts and cultural organizations that we partnered with on this project. And our hope is that Crowd Out will then allow us to do more work in more communities within the city than we previously had been able to.